Welcome to Earth Mom TV. We're really happy. Our guest today is Bonnie Rogers, and Bonnie Rogers is a herbalist, teacher, and wellness coach. Welcome, Bonnie.
Hi, thanks for having me here.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you here. Bonnie, you're working with herbs, you're working with natural modalities in healing, but this wasn't your first career, was it?
No, I started out as a CPA, and when I had young children, it just wasn't it. I wasn't going there. I was very involved in organic gardening and feeding my children really healthy, and I had an organic co-op, and I found out about this herbal conference, and I went with a friend of mine because it was a weekend to get away from the kids. Mm-hmm. And it changed my life. And I had to study, and now I work as an herbalist and a coach, and I just love what I do, helping people transform their lives.
What really inspired you at the conference that made you turn your whole life around, your whole career around?
I just couldn't believe that these plants could make such a difference for people. At that point, before that, you know, I did organic foods, but it was still the pharmaceutical mode of doing things. It wasn't really about herbs and natural and alternative, and just a switch went on, and I started buying books and educating myself, and my family were guinea pigs. Great. And I found people to study with, and it just changed my life.
How many years were you studying? Well, obviously you're still studying, continues and goes on forever.
Studying.
Yeah, which that's a good part of life.
I mean, I spent 2 years studying with a wonderful herbalist named Robin Rose Bennett, and then I spent 2 years with David Winston, and then I did his grad program, and then you're continuously doing things, and I'm constantly going to conferences. In fact, I just signed up for the International Herbal Symposium, which is in June in Massachusetts, and I can't wait to go.
It is beautiful. It's like Creator put everything here for us, and the herbs, and we just have to take them and can be healed.
And there are most of the things that we need are grown right outside our doorway.
Such as?
Dandelions, chickweed, burdock, yellow dock. They're just growing right all over. And the dandelion's going to come up soon now. Start using them. Putting them in your salad, saute with them. You know, when you dig up dandelions in your garden, I tell people to make them into medicine. Either chop them up and dry them and use them for tea, make a tincture out of them with some vodka or olive oil and make oils. And I just love teaching people about the magic of the plants and how you can make medicines out of the plants that are growing all around us.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, using it for tea. A box of dandelion tea, which I just bought because it's spring and it's a good time for it, $9. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if it's grown in your garden and you're not polluting your garden with all sorts of pesticides, then dig them up and get them out.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
When you use them in the olive oil, but that's for a tincture, you put them in olive oil.
If I'm making an oil, it's for an external use.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If I'm making a tincture, it's for an internal use. And a tincture can either be in grain alcohol and vodka, it could be a vinegar tincture, it could be a glycerin tincture. Depending on which herb I'm using will depend on which menstruum I decide to use.
Let's explain what a tincture is.
Did you ever go into a health food store and you see those little dropper bottles? I should have brought one with me. I didn't bring one. And they're little dropper bottles. They're usually 1 ounce or 2 ounces. Those are tinctures, which means you've taken the herb, you've put them into some kind of menstruum, whether that is, let's just say I use 100% vodka a lot of times.
But only a little bit of it. I mean,
and you're taking 1 to 2 droppers. 5 droppers is a teaspoon. So there's more alcohol in a banana than there is in a dropper of tincture. So it's not you're getting a lot of alcohol. You know, if someone's an alcoholic, I'm not giving them a tincture. I'm going to give them teas because you have to meet the person with where they are.
Yeah, yeah. And from looking at your site, speaking of meeting the people, the person from where they are, it's very gentle. Matter of fact, before we went on, you were telling me about someone you're treating, and just by listening to your beginning recommendations, without even changing the diet, he was able to drop off from taking Valium.
Yeah, and it's really interesting is how you can change a person's perception. If you can change a person's perception that it's not that they have to be taking medications. And one of the things he said to me was, if I just change the way I feel about myself, I can get off a lot of these things.
Woo, that's big.
And that's pretty cool. And so I'm not a therapist, but I think some of the things that I say to people make them think how to change their perspective inside. So I like to think of myself as working on the whole body, where, yeah, I'm working on with foods, I'm working with herbs, I'm working with different kinds of water, I'm working with having people exercise and breathe, and it might be we do meditations, it might be that they journal. It really depends on the specific case.
So that's beautiful. You meet someone, you meet them wherever they're at, and you don't have, here, take this handout, this formula for everyone. If you were talking to me, we would talk, and you'd ascertain what would be best for me, my lifestyle. You'd be asking me questions like how I live, right?
And also I'm looking at your energetics. For example, if you come to me, you're a menopausal woman, and you're having hot flashes, I'm not giving you cayenne pepper and ginger as my basic things
my
because
favorites.
right, but if I'm only giving you that, it's going to make you hotter, and you're not going to like me very much because really what we're trying to do for this person, let's just say, is get rid of their hot flashes. So I'm going to use herbs for that person that mostly have cool energetics. I may interject some that have hot, but I'm going to balance them so that they're going to cool the body down so that you're not flashing, and helps to balance those hormones.
Yeah. It's cool. What have been some of the most remarkable things that you've seen with the work you've done? Some of the most remarkable changes?
I mean, my daughter, I've gotten, unfortunately, my daughter had some health issues. When she was 14, she was diagnosed with Lyme. Then they told her she had juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and she went on meds. At that point, I was just getting into this, and we tried alternatives. It didn't work for her. So it's not to say that herbs are only going to be the only way you're going to go. I think it's a choice. And, and for 8 years she was on medicines, and then she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's. And they're all acidic conditions in the body. And how could I, as an alternative practitioner, change her so that she had more of an alkaline body? And so I put her on alkaline water, and I did a couple of dietary changes with her, and I didn't do a whole lot of herbs with her.
What type of dietary changes?
Really staying away from a lot of sugars, staying away from a lot of bread. I mean, she still eats a little bit, but primarily she eats, vegetables, protein, a little bit of fruit.
Minimal grains?
She's not a big grain person anyway. I mean, she had a pretty healthy diet. But the alkaline water for her really shifted her, and over a year and a half, she got off all her meds.
Let me ask you, I love the alkaline water machines, but usually they're pretty pricey. I know I've seen one at a center in New York City. There was one for a couple of years, and I'd always bring a bottle. The water, I could just tell this water was good. What do you do, though, if you're not able to spend several thousand on an alkaline?
Some of the machines, when I had first heard about this, I was introduced to a company. It was a network marketing company, and they sold their machines for $4,000. And I thought to myself, okay, if this is the only thing I can get for my daughter, then I'm going to spend the money, but let me do a lot of research. And I did a lot of research, and I found a company that I loved. And their machines range between $1,500 and $2,200. So they're not inexpensive. However, they've got lifetime warranties. And how much do you spend on water if you're just buying bottled water? And let's just say you're buying, a good quality water. You're spending a lot of money. And for many of my clients, they'll apply for a 0% credit card, and they'll do it over 18 months, and they're done. They spend $100, $150 a month, and they're done, and they've bought it. What I see is the change in how people, in terms of using that. I mean, when I started drinking ionized water, I was doing stuff herbally, and I was still flashing, and I probably wasn't doing as much as what I might recommend.
Let me ask you this. Let's take 2 steps back.
Sure.
Let's explain what alkalized water is and ionized water.
Okay. Basically,
so
this is the way I talk to people is our blood is a 7.365 on the pH scale. So if you remember, if you're in chemistry when you were a kid, it goes from 0 to 14. 7.365 is just slightly alkaline. And when we eat a lot of foods that are acidic, sugar, meat,
yeah.
dairy, grains, wine, beer, we have a lot of stress. We build up acid in our bodies. But our blood needs to stay at 7.365. So it finds buffers so that it can stay alkaline. So where does it find buffers?
Would that be inflammation, the buffers?
No, it finds things like minerals in our bodies to put into our blood so that we stay at that. So where is it going to take it from? Your hair, your nails, osteoporosis, bones. Think of all these different things. Where do we have minerals in our body? And so as people get older, a lot of times when they're very acidic, they start to get more osteoporosis. Their eyes have problems. Their hair starts falling out. You know, and all kinds of other problems. And when I try and put them on more alkaline diets, so more greens, less meat, meditation, which helps to lower the acidity in your body. And the alkaline water has just made a difference. It's an easy way. You're going to drink water, and it's not only that it's a high pH. It also has antioxidants in it.
Oh, wow.
So those antioxidants are going in your body and attaching to free radicals and helping to balance them.
What about putting a little bit of lemon in the water, or there's a lime water that they sell with the Edgar Casey products?
Right, so it's not that you have to get ionized and alkaline water, the same exact thing.
Okay, thank you.
Ionized water gets split between alkaline and acidic.
Okay.
And the acidic water is good to use externally. It kills E. coli and staph, and I use it to clean my house.
Good for the skin as well?
Good for your skin. I use it to clean my face. It's, you know, but that's neither here nor there. But you can alkalize your water, add lemon to it, add lime to it. You can add baking soda to it. You can eat lots of greens. You can add, green powders to your waters or green smoothies. You can get a lot of alkaline into your body. It's not that you have to go that route. Herbal infusions, herbal teas, alkaline.
And following down that path, let's talk about water, the water that does come out of our taps, because one thing I find, you want to take care of Mother Earth and not have all these plastic bottles or an island of plastic in the Pacific. However, what's coming out of our taps that we do want an alternative to, and it's problematic. There actually are some places around where they're not adding everything to our water and fluoride. I was in a class with two brothers from Saratoga, and it's like, oh my God, you're so lucky.
Yes.
Because they're drinking that water, they're bathing with it. That's wonderful. But for those of us that are not that fortunate,
there are some communities, even right here in Westchester. Yeah, and Peekskill doesn't put fluoride in their water.
Yeah.
But most of Westchester does.
Yeah.
I mean, they all have chlorine, they all have heavy metals, there's all some drug residue. When I talk to people about their water, I want them drinking water that comes from their tap. I want them to stop drinking water that's in plastic bottles.
That's the other thing with the plastic.
Plastic bottles have xenoestrogens. They go in our body, and they start to mess with our hormones. They mess with our whole endocrine system.
Tell me something. Is there a difference when you're buying water in the clear plastic bottles or the more opaque plastic bottles? Is one better than the other, or are they both just really bad?
Neither one of them is good for you. I wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, do I ever have it? Well, yeah. But if you can try it, if you're going to use plastic, use BPA free. Because the BPA that's in our body is a chemical that really messes with our thyroids. It messes with all kinds of things. And, our kids, my kids, that's all they had. Nobody knew any difference.
Sure.
Those little sippy cups, they all had BPA.
Right.
That's all they drank from. So hopefully that's not affecting things. But you never know.
Yeah.
You can't change what happened before. All you can do is go forward.
So then the best thing then for our water is to have filters at home.
Right. So, I mean, when I talk to people, I really talk to them about, ionizers I talk to, but I really talk to them about filters. And the company that I found that I worked with the ionizers has amazing filters. So I work with people that can't afford that much, and I work with them with a triple filter, which takes that fluoride, chlorine, heavy metals, drug residue. Not 100%, but most of it.
Yeah.
And then then the other side is that people say, well, reverse osmosis. But reverse osmosis takes out too much, so that you have no minerals. And so, so there's a nano machine that I work with that doesn't take, it takes out all the stuff, but it leaves the minerals. So there's really, people can make a lot of choices, whether it's buying, you know, water filters from my company or from just going into and buying a water filter. But a lot of the water filters that people use that are either in the refrigerators or they're the ones that you just pour into a little canister, they're really only taking out chlorine and lead.
Yeah, yeah, you need an extra filter to get that fluoride out, don't you?
Yes.
And then you were talking about a third filter which took out the medical waste?
Right, and arsenic and all that kind of stuff.
Speaking of arsenic, have you heard, pardon, that rice has arsenic in it? And I was wondering if it's even affecting the organic rice?
You know, I've heard about that, and I haven't done enough research on it, so I really can't give you a lot of information.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, it seems like there's really isn't an alternative to eating organic. That, you know, there really isn't.
For, you know, on my take is, you know, if you can grow your own food, that's the best. You know, I was out in my garden planting lettuce this weekend, so makes me happy.
Gorgeous.
But really, if you can grow your own food, that's great. If you can't, find a farmer's market.
Yeah.
Buy local. You can buy organic local, that's best. A lot of local people will tell you that they're not organic because they're not paying all the money to say that they're organic, but they're not using very many chemicals.
Yeah.
So buy local.
Yeah.
Otherwise, go into a store and buy organic if you can. If you can't afford it, then make sure you're buying butter that's organic. Because think about where our toxins are held. They're held in our fat cells. And a very well-known person that I know once said, you can have 1 stick of non-organic butter. It's equivalent to 6 months of non-organic fruit and vegetables.
Whoa, that's mind-boggling.
Right. So,
whoa, that's a great
use organic milk, use organic, you know, cheese if you can, organic yogurt.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Well, you know, I use ghee a lot. I play with the Indian spices because I'm big on cayenne. But
cayenne's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I love ginger. But so I use the Indian spices and I use ghee. And yeah, I'm really clear on the price difference, or you can go to an Indian store, but I really always buy the organic ghee.
Right, and I was actually looking the other day on YouTube about how to make your own ghee.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know what? It's so simple.
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but you can go on and just put in how to make my own ghee, and it's like you...
Well, essentially it's the clarified butter.
Right, you're
like
basically just stirring and stirring and stirring and stirring, and it finally gets clear, and the milk solids are underneath, and you strain them, and you're done.
Yeah.
And then you can freeze it, they say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so you can just take it, and you can do a whole bunch at one time, and then freeze it, and then it's done. 15, 20 minutes, and you don't have to worry about it.
I'm wondering how much the price would differ. Well, yeah, it'd still be cheaper than buying ghee. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if you can get raw butter, that's even better.
Yeah.
But that's really hard to get. In New York State, you can't get it unless there are certain places that they bring it in, but it's sold in stores.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. And you work on pets too. I love. So how do you
I started out years ago when I was first going back into the workforce from just being home with my kids.
Going back as a CPA or as a herbalist?
Well, no, I didn't want to, neither at that point.
Neither, okay.
I got a job with this person I know. I was selling a holistic pet food. And I ended up kind of morphing into doing nutritional work for that company.
Way cool.
And one of the other persons who was doing that, we made a company called the Pet Health and Nutrition Center, and we did consults on animals. We didn't see them, but we took blood work and we read the blood work, and we did it over the phone, and we would change their diet. We'd do a lot of raw diet. We would do different supplements.
The raw is supposed to be great for animals.
And, you know, and he has since retired, but I still do that. And, you know, animals that have GI problems, I've worked with animals with cancer. I've worked with animals with a lot of different things. And I just do a simple consult, and we'll go through all the stuff, and we change their food sometimes. We add some supplements, and It's amazing.
So if someone comes to you and if the animal has, I don't know, but you would, if it has a problem, I don't know what problem.
Say skin problems, digestive problems.
You would get blood work all the time?
Well, if they
Or
have
not?
it, I'll
Look.
they'll fax it to me.
Okay.
If they don't, then, you know, I kind of will work with them anyway.
Okay.
And just work on the symptoms.
All right.
You know, because as an herbalist, I can't treat or diagnose because I'm not a doctor. But what I'm allowed to do is educate people on how to eliminate symptoms. And so what I'm doing with people and with animals is that I'm trying to teach them what they can do and how they can do things to eliminate these symptoms that are going on in their body without using the pharmaceuticals if they don't have to.
And by eliminating the symptoms, you are eliminating or ultimately getting rid of the cause, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you know, whether it's animals or people, a lot of people have GI problems and they have acid reflux. And so many people are on Nexium and Prevacid and Prilosec and all these little pills because it shuts down the acid in the body. And so you're taking your food and you're not really digesting it very well. And so you're not getting the nutrients out of it.
And then you could be continually hungry?
And you're continually having to take that because if you go off of it, then you have acid reflux.
Whew.
Right. So
Yeah.
there are ways of eating and using certain supplements that can change that.
What are some basic premises to live a healthful life and to get to Radiant Health? And your website is radianthealthforlife.com, and that's going to be on my website, earthmom.com, and we're also showing it now. But what are some basic premises that you would recommend to the audience to live well?
Well, I think it's starting out by loving who you are. I don't care if you weigh 100 pounds or 500 pounds. I don't care. You know, those are health issues that you may want to get rid of, but I want you to love who you are in your body today and start to care about your body. And so whether that means making sure to drink enough fluid, so I recommend half your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 128 pounds, you drink eight glasses of water. You know, if you weigh 200 pounds, you're going to drink over 3 quarts of water a day.
Wow. Yeah.
And it flushes your body. I recommend you eat well. I recommend that you choose lots of really good greens. So learn how to make kale. Learn how to, you know, use, you know, spinach. Make a green smoothie.
Do you have a good recipe for crispy kale?
Oh, I love crispy
Yeah,
kale.
it's the best. I will have to talk about that.
I have a really, really simple. I saw a friend of mine do this the other day on a video, and you can just cut up kale, put it in a big plastic bag that it came in, throw some olive oil in it, put a little bit of good sea salt in it, shake it up, put it on a
Cookie tray?
cookie sheet, and bake it for 10 minutes at 375
Yeah.
until it's crispy.
Yum, yum.
I do mine in a dehydrator.
Yeah, it's the best way.
I add cashews. I make it's called cheesy kale. It's
Yeah.
a vegan, but it's made
I
with
just spent
nutritional
$7
yeast.
for that.
Right, but you can
Yeah,
do it
it's like-
yourself. You can
yeah.
do it in you could either do it in a low oven or you
Yeah.
can do it in the dehydrator. You know, if you want, I can share that recipe with your people on your
Okay,
website.
great. Yeah, that'd be wonderful.
You know, but I love making kale salad. So you take your kale, strip it off the midrib. I make a dressing that's 1/3 fresh lemon juice, 1/3 olive oil. And the recipe calls for 1/3 raw honey. I don't use that much honey.
much.
It's too much sugar. So I just use a little bit and a little bit of cayenne pepper. And you mix it up and you put it on that kale and you basically massage the kale. You're basically doing this.
I'm with you.
And you do it for about 30 seconds to a minute, and it breaks down the cell walls. The lemon juice breaks it down so it almost looks like it's cooked.
Oh, this is gorgeous.
And then I add in, I throw some cranberries, I throw some sunflower seeds. Everybody who eats that salad will say that I never liked kale before. Try it. It's wonderful.
Kale is good. So before I rudely interrupted you, but you gave us some great information. What else is good? What else do you recommend, like for a healthful life? How much sleep? Or is it based on each individual, how much I need might
probably
differ
each
from
individual,
you?
but I really find if you can get 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you want to be sleeping to help your body regenerate. And you want to make sure that you don't eat anything that has sugars in it 3 hours before you go to bed. Because what happens is, right when you go to bed is when your growth hormone is secreted. And when your growth hormone is secreted is when your body regenerates and you lose weight and you do all these metabolic things. But if there's insulin floating around in your blood, growth hormone doesn't get secreted enough.
So what about even eating an apple, which is
not right before you go to bed?
That's great.
Have a little piece of protein if you need something.
What about a little bit of protein shake?
That's fine.
Okay, great.
You know, if you need. So, or eat, like, let's just say, you know, if you eat your dinner and finish it by 8 o'clock and you go to sleep at 11 o'clock.
You're fine.
You're fine. If you eat your dinner at 6 and you really get hungry, so maybe at 9 o'clock or 8 o'clock you have a little something. Or maybe choose to have some kind of vegetables.
Yep, yep.
You know, maybe put a little bit of, take a celery with a piece of peanut butter on it, or almond butter.
Yep.
And then I love using the herbs, so using herbal infusions, nettles, red clover, oat straw. These are like tonic herbs that help to balance the whole body. So for so many women, you know, and men, I have them do overnight infusions where they really are having the herbs sit in the water overnight. So
essentially we'd be taking the fresh herb or the dried
herbs.
Dried. And then just put
it in a jar.
Mason jar is good.
In a mason jar. If I was doing nettles, I would take a half a cup of dried nettles. I would fill up my jar with boiling water. I'd come back about 5 minutes later and fill it up because the herbs suck up some of the water first. Leave it on your counter overnight.
Yeah.
And then in the morning, either throw it in your refrigerator or strain it and put it in the refrigerator because you don't want it to ferment at that point.
Yeah.
And nettles helps to rebuild the adrenals. It gives you more energy. It gives you calcium and magnesium, and it just regenerates our whole body. And the new nettles are coming out right now. So if you have nettles, you want to be eating them when they're small.
Bonnie does walks. She does herb walks. She does. What is the other thing you do? Herbal training for people.
Right. I do. I call them medicine making classes. My new series is going to be starting in May. It's going to be up on the website soon. And every other week we get together and we go outside and we pick the herbs and we go inside and we. Oh, I just lost this.
Oh dear.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
That's what happens when I use my hands. So we'll go outside, we'll pick the herbs, we'll come in, we will put them in, depending on what we're making, whether it's an oil or it's a tincture or we're drying it for tea, and we'll learn all about the herb, about that specific herb. I might start out by working with chickweed and dandelion. I might be working with motherwort in the summer. Really depends on what's good at that moment.
So it is a matter of season. It's being close to Mother Earth, it really is, and working with her, and not working with her, she works for us. She does so much for us. It's amazing, and you know the secret. You know how to get it. If you want more information on Bonnie, who is a jewel and a gem, and her website has tons of info and lots of good classes by her. It's Radiant Health for Life, and she's right here in Chappaqua, where we're filming this today. So. But I mean, it's convenient to the whole area.
It's fun. It's really about teaching you about the magic of the plants.
Ah, beautifully put.
Really, it's a magic.
Gorgeous. Well, that's it. But thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, my totally good pleasure. Totally. Thank you.